Music City, USA, one of the top destinations in America for tourists, aspiring musicians, and bachelorette parties. Tourism is the second largest industry in Tennessee. In 2019, Tennessee had 126 million domestic person stays and brought in $23 billion in domestic and international travel spending, a new record for the city. That year, travelers spent an estimated $64 million per day, and tourism generated 195,000 jobs, bringing in $1.92 billion in state and local tax revenue. A walk down Lower Broadway reveals why so many people want to visit. Starting in the late afternoon, the street is filled with people checking out live music, going to boot shops, trying local food like hot chicken or barbecue, going to boot shops, experiencing the various rooftop bars and honky-tonks, going to boot shops, and all around enjoying the city, the lights, the nightlife, the booze, and of course, going to boot shops. Government officials love the increased tourism in the last decade and are doing as much as they can to keep the spirit alive. Craig Ross, chairman of the Tennessee Tourism Committee and president of Dollywood, said that tourism is a significant economic driver for our state. Commissioner Mark Ezell of the Tennessee Department of Tourist Development explained that his goal is for Nashville to be the best non-beach tourism state in America. Even Governor Bill Lee is pushing for more tourism. According to Governor Lee, he is proud of the tremendous positive tourism impact on our state's revenue. In July 2020, Governor Lee teamed up with country artist Brad Paisley for their Tennessee on Me campaign. Pulling from his $2.5 million tourism budget, Governor Lee gave out 10,000 free airline vouchers to 4 key Tennessee airports. Partnering with Delta, American, and Southwest Airlines, as well as over 60 hotels, visitors can get a $250 digital gift card for their minimum 2-night stay. Lee believes the increased tourism is essential to boosting Tennessee's economy. For many Nashville locals, however, more people means more problems. For one thing, it can be extremely difficult to find parking downtown. Street parking isn't really a viable option, and most of the lots are small surface lots of about 15 to 20 spaces. While the hourly price isn't too bad, most averaging around $10 an hour, the lots fill up quickly and they spread out away from Broadway. These lots take up space that can be used for more profitable or efficient uses. Additionally, with the large volume of people, it is becoming increasingly unsafe to walk or even drive on Broadway. The pedestrians and vehicles are too cramped together and are competing for the same space. The roads are wide with 4 lanes, crosswalks are spaced far apart, and the sidewalks are too narrow for the amount of foot traffic. Lower Broadway has made an effort to expand the space by putting up construction barrier gates to keep cars and pedestrians separate, but the sidewalks are still very claustrophobic. Just look at me attempting to walk down the sidewalk. There have been many recent incidents of tourists getting injured by vehicles, especially with all the party buses and pedal taverns on the streets. In one case, in July 2021, a 22-year-old man from Michigan endured serious injuries when he fell over the rail of a party bus and was run over by the rear tires. In another incident, a man stumbled off a pedal tavern, obviously inebriated, and ran directly into a moving car. As a result of these examples and many more, people have pushed for what the industry calls transportainment regulations. The CEOs of the Nashville Convention and Visitors Corps, the Nashville Area Chamber, and the Nashville Downtown Partnership all wrote a letter asking Metro's Transportation Licensing Commission to halt approvals for additional pedal taverns, explaining that, quote, the proliferation of slow-moving vehicles and carriages, in addition to the other forms of entertainment transportation vehicles outside of your authority, has overwhelmed downtown and created undesirable, untenable conditions for safety, traffic congestion, and noise. There have been additional pushes from organizations like Safe Fund Nashville, which has garnered support from students and faculty of a high school located on Broadway. They are trying to regulate aspects of the industry that fall within local control, like alcohol consumption and noise and safety measures, and they just recently have succeeded. Party vehicles will be severely reduced in number and limited in their routing, and alcohol will be prohibited on open-roof vehicles. In fact, the change has already made a significant impact in the number of party vehicles I saw on my trip to Broadway. There seems to be a conflict here. Government officials want the tourism and business, but the infrastructure of the entertainment district cannot adequately handle the amount of traffic and pedestrians. When walking down Lower Broadway, it's evident that downtown Nashville was not prepared for the rapid rise in tourism, and it still has not caught up. In a city with a tourism-based economy, what could be done in planning and street layout that would make the area safer, less congested, and more friendly to pedestrians without completely disrupting the flow of traffic? First, let's look at how Lower Broadway came to be one of the leading entertainment districts in the region. In the late 80s, Nashville was largely a convention city. People would come from all over to the Nashville Convention Center located on the upper side of Broadway, since replaced with 5th and Broadway. While some investment was done by the city to clean up Broadway and clear out some of the low-end liquor stores and adult entertainment businesses, it wasn't until 1992 when Gaylord Entertainment announced that they would reopen the Ryman Auditorium as a music venue. The Ryman Auditorium hosted the Grand Ole Opry, the longest-running radio show in America. The renovation of the Ryman spurred the gentrification of the downtown area. With the music venue hosting country music performances once again, Nashville's label of Music City USA was reinvigorated. With the reopening of the Ryman came the rise in popularity of several Broadway honky-tonks adjacent to the auditorium, including Tootsie's Orchid Lounge and Robert's Western World. Then came Bridgestone Arena. Funded by Gaylord Entertainment, the NHL's Nashville Predators play there today. Expecting these establishments to draw more people to Nashville, small projects rapidly started popping up on Lower Broadway and 2nd Avenue, such as the Wild Horse Saloon, the Hard Rock Cafe, and Acme Feed and Seed. While these establishments predicted some of the growth of the area, they were not prepared for the rapid growth of Nashville as an entertainment district as the country music industry surged in popularity in the 90s. In an article about the area, Ola Johansson explains that fans of country music had always viewed Nashville as an important destination, but as the fans rose to be mostly middle class and affluent, the demand for country music tourism outstripped the limited possibilities that existed at the time. Johansson continues that the rise of Broadway as an entertainment district was influenced by a variety of factors, and it was not, quote, an entirely planned process, end quote. With the Bridgestone Arena and music venues, investors quickly sought to develop some of the neglected properties in the area. Johansson states that no single decision to encourage an entertainment district was made. It was a market-based stampede of new rapid investment. The area is not fit for the amount of visitors it receives, and several key Nashville officials agree. Andrea Arnold, the Senior Vice President of Affairs of the Nashville Convention and Visitors Corps, explains that even though the tourism is great for the businesses and entertainment vehicles, we need to do everything we can just to push pause on any growth going on downtown until all of us can get our arms around the conditions downtown and see if we can take our city back. We're dangerously close to becoming known only for our unsafe conditions. Faye DeMassimo, the interim director of the Nashville Department of Transportation and Multimodal Infrastructure, agrees that all of this energy has also generated some significant safety challenges for the most vulnerable users, people walking. Metro Nashville police have had to close parts of Broadway to traffic recently when the number of pedestrians is exceptionally high. There's just not enough walking space for the pedestrians who are, quote, spilling out of businesses onto the sidewalks and into the street, end quote, according to MNPD Captain David Levitt, who also said that Broadway's, quote, antiquated infrastructure, end quote, can't keep up with the traffic issues in the area caused by party vehicles, pedestrians, and cars. In the last decade or so, another neighborhood has become a hot tourist destination in Nashville. Located not far from Lower Broadway is the Gulch, which seems to have learned from the mistakes of Broadway. The infrastructure is better suited to handle high volumes of tourists, and it also attracts plenty of locals with its mixed uses. The development is a partnership between Market Street and the Metro Development and Housing Agency. Metro has invested about $7 million to improve the infrastructure. The Gulch was designed with pedestrians in mind. With over 10,000 jobs located just blocks away, the Gulch created a mixture of residential communities, shopping, restaurants, and entertainment. Many of the old factory buildings were reused to house these businesses. Knowing this would bring in a large number of people from near and far, the streets and sidewalks were built to accommodate both vehicle and pedestrian traffic. One of the main roads through the Gulch is only 3 lanes, with one being a turn lane. The side streets are only 2 lanes. There's street parking available on about 73% of the streets, according to their website, and there's a designated bike path on 11th Avenue South. The Gulch also supports the MTA City bus lines, offering 490 daily trips available at 16 stops as listed on their website. There are pedestrian stairs from 11th Avenue South to Demonbreun to connect the Gulch to downtown, and the sidewalks themselves are very wide to allow for a lot of pedestrian traffic. Additionally, the Gulch has incorporated trees and grass into the neighborhood, which provides shade for pedestrians. In fact, the Gulch is the first LEED certified neighborhood in the South, which stands for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. According to the Gulch's About page, the Gulch is always looking for ways to maximize the walkability and transportation options in a sustainable and pedestrian-friendly way. There are a few large lots that offer free parking on the outskirts of the neighborhood so as not to disrupt the commercial district. There are also several parking garages which offer 1 hour free parking, all hidden behind, below, and above the stores, residential areas, and restaurants. Although the Gulch is not perfect, it is clear that it functions much better than Lower Broadway. Well, why is that? There are a few ways to analyze the design of the area. First, the sidewalks. The sidewalks in the Gulch are built to be wide. Jane Jacobs, author of The Life and Death of Great American Cities, explains the importance of wide sidewalks, saying, "Sidewalk width is invariably sacrificed for vehicular width, partly because city sidewalks are conventionally considered to be purely space for pedestrian travel and access to buildings, and go unrecognized and unrespected as the uniquely vital and irreplaceable organs of city safety, public life, and child rearing that they are." Jacobs argues that sidewalks are not just for getting from place to place, but are for safety through eyes-on-the-street surveillance, public life, such as interacting with people, window shopping, and hanging out, and child rearing by providing a place of play. Sidewalks should be lively and full of activity of all sorts, so the area needs to be equipped to handle this. In one area of the Gulch, there's enough space for a line of tourists waiting to take a picture with a mural, a bike path, and additional space for pedestrians walking through. If we take a look back on Broadway, it's a different story. The sidewalks are far from wide enough. Homeless people crouch on the sides as people step over them. Trying to go through the crowded sidewalk is like swimming upstream, only it doesn't matter which way you're trying to go. In fact, there were several occasions where I lost my travel partner in the sea of people in the 2 seconds between looking back. Second, the streets are walkable. Writer Rachel Quednaugh explained in an article Why Walkable Streets Are More Economically Productive that walkable streets are where walking is safe, easy, and encouraged, and where many businesses occupy the land in a way that is accessible to foot traffic rather than filled with empty lots or unnecessary landscaping. In the Gulch, the streets are fairly narrow. While some roads that connect to downtown have many lanes, the majority of the commercial district has between 2 and 3 lanes. Cars can park on either side of the street and are encouraged to drive slowly. Crosswalks and sidewalks make it easy to cross the street. Shade is provided by trees and greenery. Businesses open right onto the sidewalk so they are easily accessible to walkers and attract the attention of slow drivers. Additionally, residences and offices occupy the upper floors of the buildings. These provide additional tax revenue and put more people within walking distance of the local businesses below. On Lower Broadway, sidewalk space has been sacrificed for more road lanes. There's no greenery, the crosswalks are spaced blocks apart, much of the area is taken up by surface parking lots, street parking is not feasible, many of the lots only have one business providing tax revenue. Overall, the area feels halfway in and halfway out. The businesses open into the sidewalk and encourage the area to be a pedestrian destination, but the layout and design seems to favor the vehicles. Jane Jacobs calls this the erosion of cities, where planners think the solution to the traffic problem is more lanes, more highways, and narrower sidewalks, but they actually end up thinning out cities. The root problem really is a congestion of private vehicles, so it would be better to incentivize walking and public transit. As of now, city buses try to avoid going down Lower Broadway because of the craziness, and walking is just difficult. As Rachel Quednaugh puts it, invest in an auto-oriented street and you are temporarily filling a space that will likely be empty in a decade, draining life and tax value from your town. Invest in a people-oriented street and you have created value that will continue to benefit your town for decades and even centuries to come. Third, the Gulch applies the principles of mixed use. According to Jane Jacobs, having mixed uses in a city is a generator of diversity, along with having short blocks, a mix of new and old buildings, and a dense concentration of people. Diversity requires the movement of different kinds of people at different times throughout the day. In the Gulch, there are housing developments and apartments, banks, office buildings, clothing stores, restaurants, cafes, live music venues, and other entertainment and tourist attractions. There's no one reason to visit the Gulch, and that's part of why it's so successful. Broadway is much different. Single-use areas arise when a particular type of activity becomes profitable and other businesses move in to get their share. Jacobs calls this duplication, and too much of it causes a significant decrease in the diversity and ultimately the vitality of the area. As country music fans started coming to Nashville, bars, honky-tonks, and live music venues were hotspots for tourists. Hoping to cash in on the industry, Broadway was flooded with similar establishments. As a result, there are really only a few kinds of people who visit Lower Broadway, and they all want to enjoy the nightlife of the city. In the mornings and midday, the street feels like a ghost town because there's no other reason to visit. However, there is hope for Broadway. Within the last few years, developers have opened 5th and Broadway, a step in the right direction for bringing diversity to Broadway. According to the official travel brochure, 5th and Broadway will offer visitors of all ages an outstanding collection of shopping, dining, culture, and entertainment found nowhere else in the city. And there really is something for everyone. For dining, visitors can eat at Ginny's Ice Cream, Slim and Husky's Pizza, Hattie B's, Shake Shack, and tons more in the Assembly Food Hall, a 2-story food court with a bridge going over the walkway. Inside, there's a space for live music and seating. For shopping, there are places like Ray-Bans, Vecchio Swimwear, Sephora, Molly Green, and the Apple Store. There's also plenty to do for tourists, such as visiting Takova's Western Wear or the Gibson Gallery. On the corner is the National Museum of African American Music, and further up the block is The Place, an apartment complex complete with a pool and fitness center. NashvilleGuru.com sums up the area well, saying, 5th and Broadway is Nashville's largest mixed-use development ever created, combining restaurants, shops, office space, a museum, and residential units on a large city block of downtown Nashville. Underneath the block, however, is one of the best parts of the area, a multi-level parking garage. At $6 an hour, which is cheaper than many of the nearby lots, visitors can park in any of the 830 parking spots. Since 5th and Broadway is a pedestrian-only area, this parking garage makes it easy to access the shops without having to park far away. The garage uses the space very efficiently since it goes deep underground. Applying the same principles as before, we see that 5th and Broadway has many of the same characteristics of a highly functional area. There's plenty of space for pedestrians on the wide walkways. For those that have come from other parts of the downtown area, the businesses are eye-catching on the street corners and allow easy access to pedestrians. The space is used efficiently as the apartments and office buildings extend above the area, and the 2-level Assembly Food Hall provide plenty of options for visitors and brings in much tax revenue for the area. The multi-level underground parking garage takes up a small footprint of land space compared to the usual surface lots, and it provides a safe walking area for pedestrians because there are no cars passing through. Perhaps the biggest asset of the area is its diversity of use. At any given time, there is a mixture of residents, workers, tourists, and people living nearby who want to check out the area. There are many reasons to visit the area throughout the day, such as shopping, eating, entertainment, tourism, and even education. The place is full of different kinds of people throughout the day rather than only people seeking entertainment in the evening. This mixed-use development has brought needed vitality to Broadway and is helping to pull it back from becoming simply a dangerous tourist trap. We've looked at the problems of Lower Broadway and a few examples of other areas of town. Having seen how these areas were successful in creating a safe, pedestrian-friendly, and diverse environment, what could Lower Broadway do to improve? One change that could be made is to narrow the road and widen the sidewalks. Extend the sidewalks until the road is only 2 lanes with drop-off areas. This would cause vehicles to move slower through the area, and it would actually discourage vehicle use altogether. Jane Jacobs supports this plan, calling it attrition. Essentially, Jacobs thinks that if it's harder to use private automobiles, it will encourage using public transit and walking. Of course, there would still need to be routes for vehicles to take through the downtown area, but these could be around and outside Lower Broadway rather than through the area itself. This would double the sidewalk space, allowing for more pedestrians. The sidewalks would be safer, and they would be able to be used for more than just getting from point A to point B. There could be benches in different spots, greenery, and even a bike path like there is in the Gulch. Another change is to make the streets more walkable. If public transit is incentivized by the attrition of roads, then there needs to be plenty of bus stops that will take people down Lower Broadway as well as to and from the nearby areas. Plant trees to shade pedestrians, allow for outdoor seating, add more frequent crosswalks to make it easy to move around the area. Additionally, the small surface lots should be replaced with underground parking garages like the one under 5th and Broadway, so that the land space can be used for more profitable establishments. Lastly, and perhaps the most achievable solution, is to bring in businesses that will encourage diverse types of people to visit at different times throughout the day. Follow the model of 5th and Broadway and bring in more opportunities for shopping, living, working, learning, and eating. Restrict the number of bars and honky-tonks. Having too many actually leads to decreased profit because there are so many options. Build residential areas and office spaces above commercial businesses to maximize profit per block. Since Nashville's economy is largely dependent on tourism and entertainment, we don't want to discourage tourists or those looking for nightlife. We just want to encourage people to visit Lower Broadway that currently would have no reason to go. These solutions are not easy per se. They require big changes to the area. They are also not the only solutions that will work. However, something must be done. If we do nothing, bars and nightlife will only proliferate as tourists flock in great numbers. Pretty soon, the area will be too dangerous, too congested, and too unprofitable. It will continue to degenerate over time. We want Nashville to continue to thrive, but we want people to view Lower Broadway in a positive light. We want people of all ages, from all places, to visit Lower Broadway for all kinds of different reasons, leaving them not with a nightmare, but a daydream.